We'll open planning and zoning hearing.
You want to read the?
Yeah. It's. Public notice was published on the 29th October 2024. By given notice, the following hearing will be held at Bonneville County Courthouse on November 13th at 1:30 p.m. for the purpose of a public hearing in relation to the application for Steel Arrow LLC for rezone from RA1 residential ag zone to R2 residential zone. Present are all three commissioners, Christensen, Walker, and Reed. Planning and zoning director, Austin Black. Michelle, who gets all the work done. Anything else?
No, that should be good.
Okay,
So I'll just give you a brief
please.
presentation. Yes, all we need to make everything from the planning and zoning.
And thank you. All of the records and notes from the planning and zoning hearing will be retained as part of the records of this hearing.
So this is an application on behalf of Steel Arrow LLC, Silver Oaks, Eagle Rock Engineering applied for it. Property is located on the north side of Ammon Road, east of 25th West. West of Ammon or 25th East, west of Ammon Road and south of Yellowstone Highway. It's just to the west of Bonneville High School. Property currently has an urban residential land use designation. And the property is currently zoned RA1, residential agricultural 1. And then this is an aerial overlay of the property. Eagle Rock Engineering has requested that this portion of this property be rezoned to the R2 residence zone. The area is currently serviced by Iona Bonneville Sewer District and is located within their will serve area. The property could also be served by Falls Water. Property has been zoned RA1 for a long period of time, but never developed as such. It currently has urban residential land use designation, and the adjacent zones are C2 commercial to the north, RA1 residential agricultural to the east, R1 residential to the south, and RA1 residential agriculture and C2 commercial to the west. The adjacent land uses are mixed use to the east, south, and west, and I think it's urban residential to the east, south, and west. And the property is not located with the city area of impact. So that's just a little overview of it. The Planning and Zoning Commission, when they heard this matter, recommended denial of the project because they wanted a more thought out application that showed what portion they wanted to be R2 versus what portion they wanted to be single family and potentially what portion the school could go on. So with that, there was a couple exhibits included in your packet. There was one from Keen Schuler and one from Jeanette Cook, and then there was a speed view analysis report that was submitted at the P&Z hearing by Ralph Murdoch. So that was all included in your packet. With that, I'll stand for any questions.
I don't have any interest.
Okay. Here,
So applicant or
yeah. Does the applicant have anything to say?
Good, how you doing today? Kurt Rowland with Eagle Rock Engineering, 1331 Fremont Avenue, Idaho Falls, representing for the developer. What we're proposing today is to rezone this property to R2. And when we proposed this to planning and zoning, they were worried about the density that could go on this piece of ground. And do you guys have that slide that we could?
Yeah.
So this isn't set in stone or anything, but I wanted to put this in the packet just so you can kind of see. We drew this up for the school, where the school's going for the height. They'd like to put a new high school there eventually. So that takes up a good portion of the property. And then in the blue is kind of our idea. I mean, like I said, it's not set in stone for townhomes, and then the yellow is for single family. So this really, I mean, they can put about half the density on this property that the R2 allows for. So I think that's what was making them nervous. They didn't have this map in the planning and zoning meeting. So this is what we're
What's
proposing.
my finding again, which is R2, which is school, where is the school?
So this is where the high school wants to go. And they want about 20 to 25 acres of this ground.
Okay, so what are all the buildings and stuff you've got in that?
So this is commercial.
In the red,
That's part.
This is all parking lot. That's just parking,
okay,
striping.
I thought those were all apartments.
No.
Okay,
No, that's just striping
okay,
for parking lot. This would be kind of where the townhouse area would be, and this would be single family lots,
and where's the access on the Yellowstone?
right here.
Okay.
Right
just
now.
wondering.
It goes through the commercial piece. Split the commercial and
Can we toggle back to the other map?
but like I said, this isn't set in stone, so.
Right. Okay, that's where. See, because what you have in hash there, where does that enter the Yellowstone?
So this is
Highway?
commercial, this is commercial right here. Cause that's the 500-foot mark off the highway
And then the school would be,
in this area right here. And then the parking would come into this area.
okay. The access on the Yellowstone Highway,
The trains are here.
okay. That's what I didn't quite understand from,
And then the road would kind of come, main road would kind of come around like this. Out here, and then we have another access here. But typically, we don't show maps like this for rezone, but I thought it would help you guys understand what we're trying to accomplish.
appreciate that. And address the density, what this would do for density.
So what planning and zoning was worried about is R2, it would. For this whole piece of ground, if the school didn't go in, would, I mean, you could probably get about 800 to 900 doors on here
If the school didn't go in, so the. school-
with an R2 zone.
So the school's not a done deal.
It's. So the school and Levi are trying to swap ground right now. That's what they're trying to do.
So that would be,
Can I speak? And that's why we have,
Yeah.
Levi, you can come up, you're part of the applicants.
So Levi Jarvis, the developer. So what we've been trying to do for the last 2 years, I brought Mr. Pim here. So they approached me about possibly acquiring
They-
some land. What's
They,
that? The school district, sorry, District 93, about potentially acquiring some property. And they have a couple pieces that we have been looking at potentially trading. To myself and to the school district, the monetary value, you know, I wasn't really looking for the money. It's not ideal for them. Ideally, we're trying to trade. One of the pieces of property that they have is on 52nd West, 52nd East. And it's in the floodplain. So we've been working for probably a year and a half trying to work through that to where we're trading value for value. To make the swap work. If we can get all that to work, then it will be a clean swap, and this is where the school would like to go. We're to the point that we need to develop something. So that's why it's a little bit sticky or a little bit weird on, you know, why are we trying to apply for R2? Because we need the flexibility to mold that, whether the school's there and how we layer that from commercial to the school, to some townhomes, to residential. And so it's not as easy as saying that we can put that in there until we can work through this. The school swap could take another year. You know, I mean, it's all just contingent on Gerald Williams being able to get his stuff taken care of. We want to be able to at least get going on the first phase, which will be residential, but the exact location, is it 20 acres that we swap? Is it 25? Is it 22? It kind of makes it a little bit, you know, tricky that way.
when we originally started this project, we come in and talked to the planning and zoning. And we asked them if what would be the best fit for this, and they thought maybe an R2, since we're trying to put a school and townhomes and single family on this ground, in which R2, you can put all those pieces on this ground.
Okay,
In our understanding, when we met with Austin, he ran some math and basically said this was worst case scenario. It was my understanding that that was the concern. That as a developer, we'd go in there and try to use every square inch. That is not anywhere close to what we're trying to do. So we ran some math and basically said, hey, ideally, we're looking for a lot better plan. So it's more about, can we get, a plan that works? And so it's not about maximizing 900 homes. It's, can we get flexibility and have, maybe a limit of a certain amount of doors that we can create that's best for everybody and hopefully best for the school. I mean, this is something that could save the school upwards of 10 to 15 million dollars if we can go there.
So now you're talking familiar language. Okay, number of doors.
Mhm.
Okay, at the R2, what's the number of doors that would be allowed there?
if the school
If
does,
it
or
was
if the school
maximized.
doesn't.
If it was maximized.
It is around 800 to 900, like Kurt said.
Okay, and without the school section, how many doors?
I'll have to do some math. Give me a second.
Okay. Counting fourplexes,
Yeah, I would be happy for that. Yeah, I would say,
whether you're happy or not, are you counting fourplexes?
I would treat a fourplex as 4 doors.
Yes,
Right, but, is the 900 account for that?
yes.
Is that,
That is
For
correct.
all the, that would be all
the density,
fourplexes.
not,
So that's the max.
100% correct.
Okay,
But there's no way we could fit that much.
So the school, if the school's gonna take 25 acres, you're talking about 450 doors. Less on an R2. This, as if the school wasn't there.
saying how many acres per door, for portions of an acre?
So you're 9,000 square feet per fourplex, so that averages out to about 19 doors an acre.
Is that with minus and the roads out too?
That's not minusing the roads out, that's just doing a raw calculation, so
That's
you'd end up
20%.
a little less, probably 20% of that, so if you're 470, 500, you're gonna be closer to the high threes. Minus your roads without the school.
And if the high threes, how much would be single family and how much would be multifamily? Or however you.
the map you didn't show us.
I haven't done a master,
Doesn't-
we haven't done a master plan on this yet, so I don't know how many doors. But I know Liberty Homes, they do 10,000 square foot lots. That's basically what they do.
Okay, so
And that's that piece that we were showing you, that's the yellow piece that's takes most of the property.
and the fourplexes are 9,000 instead of 10,000, so we're close. This is per door.
Well, they're gonna be a fourplex.
Yeah.
Like a townhouse, not a,
I'll just bring up for reference, we just had a similar hearing that we went through this and we're discussing R2 density and possibly what the limitations were there, and I believe on that hearing, we put a minimum lot size requirement, 15,000 square feet for the fourplexes. Just to try to keep that density number down a little bit. So I know that's what we've done previously, but.
So I've got a question. I understand what you're trying to do, but it's hard for me to make a decision based on so many unknowns. I mean, you may not get your deal with the school. Then what happens to the rest of that? It's all in R2. I don't know can we make a zone change with limits on how many doors?
Yeah,
That's what we did
so
on the
then
one.
that's within,
Yeah, and that's when we left that meeting, and that's where I felt really good about it, was that as we did all the math and said worst case scenario is 900, which is nothing close to what we would attempt. Bare minimum how it is was like 360. We left there with the like if we were limited as a developer to 450, but everything was in R2 so that we had the flexibility. You know, in my, I'd
You'd be comfortable with something like that.
I'd be ecstatic with that. And then, you know, we have protection for the community that if we can never work it out with the school, we're still limited.
Right.
I hope we can for everyone's sake. But
I can kind of remember that hearing, but could we make that, the minutes from that hearing part of the record?
Yeah, so you can review it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because that's where I was going at with the doors and trying to not have to reconstruct it, so I'm glad we could take a shortcut.
right.
Yeah.
And that's specifically the
Rockwell Heritage Heights rezone that we just did, yeah. So I'll make that part of the records, give you a copy.
Thank you. And I'm just exploring, thinking out loud. But I don't know if you could put, instructions on there to kind of do the lower density, housing out front, say in the yellow part that you're talking about, and then have it phased in, leaving those options open.
That's 100%.
In case something doesn't happen with the
Yeah.
school.
Yeah, that's 100% of our plan because all of our utilities and everything are gonna be at the south. So the sewer and everything that we have to access to. So we have to start there and the first phase would be single family.
To say it did fall apart at school. You know, my concern would be, putting that cutting the high density up here and then continuing it on.
Correct.
When, if you phase it as if it's gonna be all full.
Mhm.
With the school,
Mm.
and the school doesn't happen.
And that's
Right.
something else the commissioners consider as part of your decision, as, you know, part of the conditions of the rezone is you could say. The first X amount of feet from Iona Road has to be single family, and then past that footage point, everything can be R2, if that's a protection they want to put into place.
And what you're looking at in the yellow is kind of the single family, and the townhomes would be the blue.
Yeah, so my only ask from that with the blue, the reason we have it kind of layered this way is because one of the access points would be the road that is currently up against Bonneville. And that would actually tie in right by where their seminary building is. So if we were limited to, 300 feet with the only boundary being Iona Road, that would get us in a little bit of trouble with the first part of the blue. But everything else in yellow, I would fully agree, makes a lot of sense. So we were trying to take the blue as a buffer between the school and the residential, the single family.
So this is where they're thinking about putting the seminary.
The existing seminary, which is at the very top right-hand corner. If they came in and just said we had to be 300 feet back from this road, that could mess with that,
Right.
that little piece there.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Does that make sense to you? And
Yeah, I kind of like the idea that you're working with school, because an extra 15 or 16 million dollars be the difference in passing the bond.
yeah,
And I would love John to get the opportunity to kind of speak about, all the conversations we've had and what we're trying to do.
Just makes sense for the school district. I mean. Can John come up?
Wait till we open public.
Okay.
it's public.
We do have other.
Are you done with the?
Do you have any
Applicants?
questions?
I'll be quiet for a bit.
Okay,
You okay? Anything else from the applicants? Okay. Public input.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm John Pam, here representing the school district. My address is 5226 East Free Avenue in Iona. So one of the reasons I'm here as part of the school district to advocate for that rezone is we, going through the difficulties we've had of passing bonds in the past and planning for the long-term future. We're trying to come up with ways that we can save the taxpayers. And we feel like this would be a significant savings if we can get this trade accomplished. We're not talking about anything in the next 5-6 years, obviously. This is a 15-20 year down the road for the school district. But what this would accomplish is the district currently owns 80 acres that they could put a fourth high school and a middle school on. And as you can imagine, Thunder Ridge in 2017 was a $65 million project. And the middle school was a $35 million project a few years later. By taking this approach rather than a fourth high school, we would be able to save the taxpayers the costs of all the fields, stadium, baseball fields, tennis courts, all those kind of things, because they would already be there on site. We could absorb the growth by building a larger school, say, 2,000 to 2,500 student school on that location. And the huge savings comes because we now don't have to build a middle school to pair with the new high school, because the existing Bonneville High School would be large enough to house a middle school that would match the size of the new larger school. So you could fit 1,200 middle school students in Bonneville High School. That's 2 grades, which translates to about 2,400 students at a high school to feed without creating any issues. Some of the other things that we looked at that could be potential problems here. I've talked to both Lance here in the county and the state of Idaho Highway Department regarding access to Yellowstone Highway. There's some significant concerns about that. So really our plan right now is we would be able to do this without access onto Yellowstone Highway if that had to be the case, because we can feed back out the roads that we're currently using for the high school without any, the kids are just driving a little farther, the buses, but they still have access on the Iona Road and Ammon Road. And that would continue to be the case. If the access on Yellowstone was added, that would be certainly an added benefit to the project potentially, but it is not a project killer for the school district. So that's why we've been working hard with Levi to try and make a property trade. Feel like 20 years from now, when the growth comes, it continues to come, puts the district in a much better place than having to go ask for a new high school and a new middle school to meet that growth.
So a question for you, is the new high school you're talking about to replace the existing Bonneville High
It
School?
would replace the existing Bonneville High School.
And that would become a middle school.
Correct.
Can't help but smiling because I went to school at Bonneville. It's now Rocky Mountain Middle School, and the house grades 9 through 12.
Yeah.
I do have a question on your accesses. I don't know if you're aware, but the residents along Romer Lane have approached us because of the problem they've had going through there.
Right.
And we are working with them on a plan to cul-de-sac that on each end and basically not make it a through street. Does that affect what you're looking?
No, our plan is not to run through there at all. You see the little pink strip down the edge. That basically allows us to go back and hook into our existing property near the current LDS seminary there. And so we just feed the kids south out. Also, we have, and this may, cause, I guess, issues with another neighborhood, but we've got 2 roads up there in what would be the northeast corner that go out off our property. We could add access across the north end of the current Bonneville property to potentially hook into those roads as that's currently not necessarily something we are having to have. What's that?
Onto Ammon Road or onto?
Well, they would feed one, I think both those roads eventually go out onto Ammon Road.
Yeah, they
through
both-
those
They
subdivisions.
both feed out to Hammond, so it would dump out to Hammond.
Thank you. Appreciate you coming and clearing that up. Obviously, we can be work together to save taxpayer dollars, saves taxpayer dollars. Any other comments from public?
Anybody online?
Is online? There. Okay, well, with that,
Any other questions for me before we close?
I've got a question on the traffic.
What? Want to come up and state your name?
My name is Gene Jose. I live on Romerell. It is hard to get onto Iona Road from 3 o'clock till 6. A lot of traffic coming home both ways. Is there any plans to change that so we have a center road in the middle to make it so we can get off? Either go into the Summit Hills or the Croak Creek addition. It's gonna complicate things when we put that extra strain on that thing. I highly recommend that we do get that entrance into Yellowstone burned up before we, I'm really concerned about that because it is pretty bad. We get a lot of high school traffic coming down. That's
Yeah.
our concern.
thank you.
Thank you.
Can I, just for informational purposes, our long-term plan, they're underway to, they're gonna improve Iona Road east of Ammon Road this year. And then they're working on getting it that way. I don't know when it, probably start out as 3 lane with a turn lane and then add 2 lanes as the traffic. But that's in the probably 7 to 10 year plan.
Okay,
So,
thanks.
Any rebuttal?
I don't have anything, unless you guys have any other questions.
on my side was to you today.
Okay, if you're good to close.
Okay, well, that will close this public hearing.